is that entrepreneurs are the people who create our countries. They construct communities. There are no communities that have no economic viability. I mean, that's the reason they come together, and entrepreneurs are the people who build those communities. I think there's a lot of entrepreneurial spirit in Portugal because, and as I said, you go back 400 years, you had Vasco da Gama leaving the shores, and you had all these people leaving to build a better life as entrepreneurs. So I think there's always been the entrepreneurial spirit. I think what's interesting now is that I think over the past years it's gone down, and you can see it coming back. You can see people be more excited about entrepreneurship. You can see people thinking, oh, well, you know, maybe that's how I can make my way through my life. And so I think that that's much better than it was 4 or 5 years ago. The reality is that a job for life is gone. It's a myth that we continue to perpetuate that if you stay in school, you know, get good marks, go to university and, you know, get a good degree, and then get out and get a job and you stay there for life. That doesn't exist anymore, and young people know it. And yet we are really trying to produce young people to come out in an age of enterprise. You know, those things that we tell students not to do, like sit down, be quiet, listen, are the things we don't want them to do when they get out in the workplace. Well, I think there's two things. I think that there's an awareness that entrepreneurship is an option. And I think that 10 years ago, people didn't even think of entrepreneurship. You'd go to a professional school and you'd get a job, or you'd go to school and people would be telling you to go out and get a job, or you go to university, then get a job. Everything was focused on a job. And I think young people are smart enough to know that a job isn't really what's going to work. You know, I think young people have come to wake up and say, you know what, the job route is not what I really want. And so, because they know it exists now. But how do schools have to change? I think one of the things about schools have to change is we have to rely less on content and more on the process of learning. The actual knowledge is not what was important. What was really important is that I learned how to learn. And one of the big things is we need to move from theory to practice. And for a couple of reasons. Students learn better if there's a context for teaching. And so we need to be able to move schools in that direction, which is the direction that business has already moved in. So it really helps if business people, which most of you are, demand this in the schools. I mean, it's not going to happen just because someone's going to be altruistic. They need to have pressure on the schools to be able to do this. This is how much of things that people will remember. If I just get up and I do lectures, you might remember 10 to 15% of what I say. If I use audiovisual things, you're going to remember 20%. So I'll be lucky if you remember 20% of what I say today. But if I move up and I do demonstrations and small group work, then you're moving up to 35 to 55%. But learning by doing, you get up to around 80 to 90% in those last two. So we need to get more people to learn by doing rather than just sitting in the classroom and learning through theory. Because we know that people will remember it. In business, we know this. This is how we teach. This is what we ask people to do. So entrepreneurship is about what you do with what you have. It's not what you have. The more tools you have, the better. But the real essence of entrepreneurship is about doing something with what you have. People learn in many different ways. And the biggest thing, if this is about attitude, you don't get attitude from reading a book. You get attitude from doing things. Thanks.